What is going on, YouTube universe? This is ArghGodzirra. We are back with another round of AFL tips and predictions. And boy, did we have a pretty interesting week go down to round 2 again. This has been probably the most far-fetched and interesting 2 rounds of football that we have seen in a very long time, especially with the outcomes we've been getting and where some of the teams are sitting this early on in the season. But before we have a look at last week and before we get our tips into this week, again, if you want to get involved in my tipping competition this year, on the screen right now, you've got the URL code, you've got the competition code. You will find those in the description of this video. Click on it. It'll take you straight to the competition. Join. Jump on in. We've got 34 people in at the moment. I think we had around 63, 64 last year, so we're halfway there. Let's see if we can top last year's total by the time round 5 rolls around. If you want to be eligible for prizes as well, don't forget, make sure, as well as joining the competition, you subscribe to my channel as well. But now that we've got that out of the way, we can go have a look at competitions and see who fared the best last week. And I think 6 actually might have been... 6 was the best. So, to the following people who tipped 6 out of 9, I congratulate you for tipping the most correct amount of tips for the competition last week. We have Courtney K, Sean A, Sean C, my old man, Tristan H, TND, and myself managing to get the 6 out of 9. So I'm very happy with that. And if we have an overall look at the total tips after 2 rounds of football, we have Courtney K and Sean A both sitting on top of the ladder with 13 wins. And then hot on their trail, we have a handful of people on 12, right down to the bottom with a 7. But with that 7 still being in mind, that might be 6 behind the lead, but we've still got plenty of football to go. So everybody is still a really good, hot chance and well and truly in it. Now that we've done that, let's have a look at my tips from last week, knowing that I got 6 out of 9. This is where it fell apart, because I said the Bulldogs were going to win by 21 points, and I also said in last week's video that I felt the media hyping up Carlton's midfield was a little bit premature, in the sense that they won the clearance game against Richmond when Richmond are notorious for letting opposition teams win the clearance game. And I said, if Carlton's midfield can beat the Bulldogs midfield, I'll have a lot more respect for Carlton, and that's exactly what's happened. They have absolutely demolished their midfield, and I have a lot more respect for Carlton because of it. Will they be 3-0 after this week? Who knows? That's still to be determined. We got the Sydney tip right, and I think Sydney affirming to be a really hot premiership favourite. Collingwood defeating Adelaide, I think that was all but a certainty. Brisbane defeating Essendon, all but a certainty. Shock of the round, Hawthorn getting up by as big of a margin they did. Hawthorn winning would have been a shock, but getting up 120 to 56... I don't think anybody outside of a Hawthorn fan would have thought that would have been possible. Melbourne win against the Suns in a very close, hard fought-out game. I give the Suns credit for fighting that one out. North Melbourne just over a very depleted West Coast. My boys getting up over the GWS with some key outs, and Fremantle letting me down in the final game. St Kilda getting up by 10 points. So, that was last week. Time to have a look at this week. Round 3. We are kicking off tomorrow night at Marvel Stadium with the Bulldogs taking on Sydney. And I think Sydney are going to go 3-0. Would that have them 3-0? Yes, it would. And I'm going to say they're going to beat the Bulldogs by 24 points. Now, Bulldogs are going to be without Aaron Norton. I think he is key for their forward structure. Sydney might be without Lance Franklin after that whole debacle with all the people storming the ground. I'm surprised we haven't heard that the whole Sydney team has caught COVID yet. But I think Sydney have been playing a very superior brand of football when you compare what Sydney have been playing to what the Bulldogs have been playing. And I think it's hard to back against Sydney, even with Sydney travelling here. So I think Sydney, 24 points, should comfortably walk away with a win. Bulldogs have a chance to upset, and they really need to scalp a win here to get themselves on the winners board. You'd think a team that made the grand final last year, 2 rounds in, would already have a win up there, but It's not a good start for the Bulldogs at all. Especially if they're wanting a top 4 chance, because if you start the season 0-3, very hard to chase that top 4. Friday night, MCG, Melbourne Essendon. I think Melbourne win this quite comfortably. They should 30, 40 plus points. Put it in the bag. This could shape up to be the demolition that we have seen Essendon undertake before. It could be as bad as what we saw them go down with in round 1. So I think a lot of Melbourne supporters will be licking their lips for a big win here, and a lot of Melbourne players will be licking their lips for a lot of touches on the ground. And we've got a double header on Friday. I don't understand this decision. I really don't. Personally, I would have gone with Adelaide Port for the Friday night slot purely because it's the showdown. It's a big rivalry in the AFL. I don't know why they're doing a crossing over thing on Friday night. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think Port Adelaide pick up their first win of the season here, even though they haven't got a win on the board yet. Adelaide haven't either. Port Adelaide's list is a lot stronger than Adelaide. Port Adelaide have shown a lot more in their first 2 games than I feel Adelaide have. I think Adelaide's in a bit of a state of stasis where I don't think there's going to be much movement, because when you have a look at all the other clubs that are rebuilding, all the youth that other clubs are bringing in are helping the current mould, whereas we've got Adelaide who either have youth that they've drafted that they haven't even played yet, or those kids have been injured or haven't lived up to the expectation of the number that they were drafted at. It's going to be a tough time for Adelaide, which is upsetting because I know I've got some Adelaide supporting subscribers and friends out there, but I think Port Adelaide get up in this showdown. Saturday at Giant Stadium. This is a do-or-die game for GWS. We have GWS taking on the Gold Coast Suns, and I really don't know who I'm going to pick here. I think I'm going to bounce between this selection up until the game is played, because we've got a team in GWS who should have beaten Richmond. You have a look at the outs Richmond had. GWS should have had a field day in the midfield just like Carlton did, but Richmond, I think, were on top of the clearance game. I don't understand that. But then you've got Gold Coast, who, on the back of beating West Coast round 1, challenged the reigning premiers in week 2. So, who do you go here? I am going to go with the Gold Coast Suns. I think Phil Davis being out could be a big worry for GWS long term as well, so that's something to bear in mind when making my selection. Saturday night, MCG, Collingwood Geelong. We're going to go Geelong. Collingwood have had a red hot start to the year. I feel they haven't been up against anybody that has really been able to push them to their limits. They've taken on St Kilda. St Kilda's a team who's thereabouts that, you know, we've seen St Kilda, especially the last few years. You don't know what St Kilda's going to rock up. Same with Essendon, same with some other teams, you know, same with Richmond even. You don't know which team you're going to get. Are you going to get the team that's going to come out and challenge, or are you going to get the team that's going to come out and lay down? And I don't think Collingwood have been tested really all that much yet by a contender. And I think Geelong is going to get up and win this game. However, if Collingwood can pick up a scalp against Geelong, I think a lot of people are going to start talking about Collingwood in the conversation as well. And Saturday night rounds out with a win for Brisbane over North Melbourne. Brisbane, what they did against Essendon to come back, and Lachie Neale having as huge a game as he did, that was a very impressive single-man performance. I think Brisbane, again, get the win. They're looking hot to trot as well. Could this finally be the year that, you know, the damn wall breaks for Brisbane? Who knows? It's still early days. But I'm backing them against North Melbourne. Sunday kicks off the MCG with Carlton taking on Hawthorn. If you had told me at the start of the season, round 3 would see Hawthorn and Carlton facing off with one team being undefeated, I would have told you, there's the door, get the fuck out. But it's happening, folks. It's going down. And as much as Hawthorn's win against Port Adelaide was vastly impressive, I've got to go with Carlton, what Carlton have done. Carlton have played Richmond and picked apart our midfield in that final quarter and deservingly got that win. And then they came out against the Bulldogs and did the exact same thing. I'm not discrediting what Hawthorn has done. Hawthorn have had a very hot start as well. I think Carlton is ahead of what Hawthorn's been doing though, and that's where I justify my decision. Marvel Stadium, St Kilda taking on Richmond, and this game, especially sportsbet-wise, is incredibly close. But I'm going with the Tigers, even though St Kilda in past seasons might have had our number just a little bit. I feel even though Richmond lost to Carlton in the first round, we have shown a lot more than what St Kilda have shown in 2 weeks. And I think getting the ball rolling against GWS last week is really going to swing momentum back in our favour. St Kilda were very impressive against Fremantle in the sense of they should have probably been put to bed by half-time, and they swung it around in the second quarter and just looked to dominate pretty much. Even though they didn't hit the scoreboard that hard, they dominated the game for the next 3 quarters. And they could come back to Marvel and cause a scene against Richmond. But I've got to back my boys in here. They look so good against GWS, and I think they just continue on with that momentum. And then we round out with another derby, the derby over in the West, with West Coast taking on Fremantle. And even though Fremantle showed a lot of spirit against St Kilda, I'm almost tempted to back West Coast against Fremantle here on the basis of West Coast were playing with blokes that haven't played the game for a while. They haven't played together as a team, and they almost defeated North Melbourne. So, at the moment, I think it's a safe bet to lock in Fremantle just for the time being. But once the teams are released, I'll definitely be coming back to that, because I think West Coast could be a chance, depending on who they get back via the COVID protocols. If they can get in Nick Nat Nui, if they can get back a couple of those players, I think I would back West Coast, especially with Sean Darcy out of the ruck. No Nat Fife. But that is my tips for round 3, ladies and gentlemen. Recapping, we're going with Sydney, Melbourne, Port Adelaide, the Gold Coast, Geelong, Brisbane, Carlton, Richmond, and Fremantle. There you have it. And as I said at the top of the video, if you want to get involved in my tipping competition, links are in the description down below. Hope you guys have been enjoying the football. I'm just glad that it's back. I'm just enjoying seeing the fans back in the crowd and just hearing the roar, supporting their teams. Lance Franklin kicking 1,000 goals last week was insane, so congratulations to Buddy for doing a once-in-a-generation achievement. I don't think in my lifetime I'm ever going to see anybody do that again, which is sad because it's great for football when you see something like that go down. But as I said, that's it for my tips. They're all locked in. You could do myself a favour. You can hit that like button down below and lock that in for me. That'd be appreciated. As I said, make sure you're subscribed if you want to be eligible for prizes this season. Hopefully your teams get up for you this weekend. Fingers crossed. Just be grateful football's back, folks. I sincerely hope you're enjoying the footy as much as I am. That's it from me, guys. I'm out of here, and as always, I will catch you guys next time.